We must look to the Pacific and listen to science. This is a crazy situation. Rising seas are a crisis entirely of humanity's making. A crisis that will soon swell to an almost unimaginable scale with no lifeboat to take us back to safety. But if we save the Pacific, we also save ourselves. The world must act and enter the SOS before it's too late.
Well, I'm joined now by climate specialist Durwood Zaelke, who's based in Myrtle Beach, California. Welcome to the programme. What do you think Antonio Guterres is trying to achieve here, message-wise, with this visit to the Pacific Island nation of Tonga?
Secretary General is in the right place at the right time. So the islands are perhaps the most vulnerable to climate change, specifically sea level rise, but also just the warming ocean itself and the acidification that comes from the carbon dioxide we're pumping into the ocean. So he has a great ability to see the problem, and he's telling us what we should do to respond. And the islands, in fact, have been leaders on climate change. It is because of the islands that the world first paid attention to the 1.5 degree centigrade barrier, beyond which the Paris Agreement says we shouldn't go. That became a rallying cry because of the islands. The islands were also the first group to say, we have another agreement than the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change called the Montreal Protocol. And that is also a treaty that we could use. It has put the stratospheric ozone layer on the path to recovery by 2066, but it's also done more for climate than any other agreement. And that's something that the islands made the world pay attention to.
Just remind us, if you could, Durwood, what is the link between rising sea levels and climate change and this very vulnerable situation that these islands there find themselves in, the Pacific Islands?
So the world is pushing climate pollution into the atmosphere that thickens the blanket around the Earth and traps heat. 93% of that heat goes into the ocean, more than 90%. That causes the oceans to expand, thermal expansion. That also causes land-based ice to start melting. The Greenland ice sheet, for example, is expected to be committed to disintegrating once we breach the 1.5 degrees Celsius guardrail. The West Antarctic ice sheet also is very vulnerable now, and those two will add many meters of sea level rise. So the solution is to slam on the brakes of climate pollution, listen to the islands who have not only their traditional knowledge that tells the world that we know how to take care of our islands if you would leave us alone, but they're also leading the political charge, as I said, on the Montreal Protocol. And in particular, another island leader, Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados, has said, we also need to attack methane. It is the single biggest way to slow near-term warming. Let's do a Montreal-inspired methane agreement that's mandatory.
Durwood, we've run out of time, but thank you so much for explaining this very important issue to us here on CRT World. Durwood Zaelke, thank you.